I recently learned a story about a man who's gone on to make a fairly successful business. And his career he's had was about he's become a foremost expert in memory, teaching people how to unlock the superpowers of their brain and be able to memorize things more, be able to access, remember names, remembering pictures, remembering content, all sorts of invaluable things. And he's regarded as an expert. CEOs hire him to do presentations. Hollywood A-listers enlist his help to memorize lines. Titans of business utilize his services and programs. But it wasn't always the case for him. You see, once upon a time when he was a young boy, I think he was about 4 or 5 years old, he had a really severe brain injury. And that created all sorts of swelling and problems in his brain. And as a result, as a child, he struggled. He struggled with learning. He was always looked at as slower and unable to keep up and unable to do these things that other kids were doing. He struggled with grasping basic concepts and ideas. He struggled with spelling and reading and all those things that we have to learn in primary school. And what he used to do at night was he would lay under the covers and put a lamp on and he would read comic books to try to learn how to read, because he could become absorbed in the material and the pictures. One of his favorite comics was the X-Men, and as fate would have it, he lived in New York, the same place in the fictional X-Men comic that Professor Xavier's School for the Gifted is supposed to exist. And so on his free time, when he wasn't in school and he wasn't trying to learn, he would hop on his bike and ride around New York trying to find Professor X's school, because he thought if he couldn't learn in regular school, perhaps Professor X and the rest of the X-Men could help him. Sadly, he never found that school. And what he found is that instead he had to work twice as hard, 3 times harder than everybody else to try to keep up. And what he'd often do to do this was he'd sacrifice sleep, sacrifice his health, sacrifice eating, just to try to study more, to cram in more information, because he just couldn't get things to sink in. One day this came to a head when he was in college, and he was in the library studying and had been on a bender of no sleeping, no eating, trying to get information, trying to get his brain to work. He got up, he started to walk away, he ended up collapsing and fell down the stairs and woke up some days later in the hospital. It hit his head, he had hurt himself, and he said he remembered lying there thinking, there has to be a better way. There has to be something different. There has to be a solution to this. What that inspired in him was to discover, not necessarily, because before he had been so focused on the problem that he couldn't learn like everybody else, that he couldn't keep up. And he's decided to think, well, what if I'm not the problem? What if the problem is that I'm just not learning in the way that's best for me? What if I'm not being taught how to use my brain in the best way? So he became a student, not just of school, but of life. And he started diving into all these sorts of books about how to unlock the secrets and the mysteries of your brain, how to increase your memory retention, how to utilize hidden skills that so many of us have, right? We've all seen those people out there, the magicians, the mentalists, the people who can remember things or seem to do amazing things with their mind, and we wonder, how can they do it? I wish I could. Well, he wondered how they could, and he said, I wonder if they can, if I can too. And as he became a student of this information, he started downloading more and more, and he realized something really fascinating. He started to learn. He started to remember. He started to excel. He was able to increase his reading speed. He was able to increase his memory retention. He went from struggling to remember basic facts and figures to being able to remember random combinations and numbers taken out of order and all sorts of different things. When the average human could struggle to memorize 7 digits, which is our phone number, he was consistently doing 20, 50, and more digits at a time. His memory prowess and his skills with unlocking the powers of his mind became so legendary that he decided to create a system to teach others, because he didn't want kids and other people to struggle in the same ways he had. He knew if he could do it with his disability and his limitations, that others could too. And so he set out to make it his life's work, his life mission, to teach others about what he did. Now, what's really makes this fascinating, and I think made the story so amazing with me, is you fast forward to just a few years later, a few short years later. Or maybe it wasn't a few short years later, it was 10, 15, 20 years later. But this happened just a few short years ago. He's now become a world expert in the field of memory and unlocking the powers of your brain. He gets a phone call from one of the executives at Fox, and they ask him to come and do a presentation for the team. And he said whenever he goes and he works with people, he serves people, he always makes it his mission, his intention, to give them his absolute best, to serve them in the best way possible. He wants to always over-deliver. And after he did this presentation and he got a round of applause, the head of Fox comes up to him and says, that was fantastic, and I didn't know you were such a big fan of comic books. Fox owned the rights to the X-Men movie at the time, and they happened to be working on one of the X-Men movies. And they asked him, would you like to go to Comic-Con? He said, well, yeah. Comic-Con, for those of you who don't know, is one of the premier events for comic book, superhero-type movies. And they often will debut some unhidden trailers. A lot of the new trailers we had coming out this year for future superhero movies came out at Comic-Con. So you got to go there and you got to hang out and be in the panels with some of the X-Men characters. And it didn't stop there. The head of Fox said to him, they said, I didn't realize you were such a big fan. How would you like to go on set and work with the actors? He said, really? Me? And he said, yeah, all you need to do is just help them memorize their lines, help them learn some more, and you can spend some time there. So he gets flown to the set of X-Men, not the most recent one, but the one, X-Men Days of Future Past, I think it was called. And he's hanging out on set with the real-life Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, the real-life Storm, the real-life Magneto, the real-life Professor X. And then he takes this photo, he gets this photo taken, and it's him with all these characters in the movie. So he had gone on this journey where once upon a time when he was a little kid with just a disability, everybody told him he couldn't. Everybody told him he was slow. Everybody told him he just wasn't going to get it. And lying in bed at night, looking at his comic book, trying to learn how to read, trying to learn how to understand, trying to learn how to memorize, try to take information in, looking at his superheroes, the X-Men, riding around on his bike trying to find Professor X's School of the Gifted. He didn't take no for an answer. He believed that he had to have a better way. And what he did is he unlocked his own superpowers. He pursued a mission and a purpose that spoke to him. And then he was able, fast forward into the future, to find himself on the set of an X-Men movie, getting to watch his superheroes come to life. And finally take his own class photo with the X-Men. I think it's so it looks like Facebook just went off the air, so we'll pop back over. Just give me 1 second here. Right at the end. Well, that's the joy of technology, and that's what I get for talking too long in the beginning. Facebook, I'm back, and I apologize for that. And so what I was wrapping up with saying is that he had finally gotten to the place where, after all this time and being the boy searching for Professor X's school, he now found himself with the X-Men, and as a treat, he was able to get his own class photo. And the photo is him in the center, Professor X, Wolverine, all the heroes of his X-Men, all the ones he grew up watching and admiring, because he was willing to work through his stuff. He now got to be part of his superhero team. So, the moral of the story is, this is your part. What do you think the moral of the story is? What are you taking away from this? What's your moral of the story? Again, I'd love to feed it. I'd love to hear what you have to say, so please leave it in the comments below. If you found value in this, if you enjoyed this, please leave it in below. Let me know what you think. Again, I would love to have this become a regular Tuesday if this is something that would be of enjoyment and of value to you. And we'll do it every Tuesday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. If you have suggestions for future moral stories, again, you can leave those in comments below. And also, if you have ideas for future Facebook Live, Periscope Live events, things that you think would be of value to you, again, leave that below too. I do read every comment that you leave, and I appreciate you taking the time to read those. So I hope this was something you enjoyed. I hope to see you back next Tuesday. Again, leave your moral of the story below. Thank you for all the hearts on Periscope. Thank you for all the thumbs up, the hearts on Facebook Live. Thank you both, Periscope and Facebook Live, for sharing this and inviting your friends and family to be a part of this. And the replays will be available. I'll take the Periscope replay and I'll put it up on YouTube. And Facebook Live, I know we cut off in the middle, but I hope I caught it soon enough where it pieces it together. And you guys can rewatch this as many times as you like. And I hope this gave you something of value today. Okay, so what's your moral of the story? What did you take away from this? I look forward to reading your comments. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. And we'll see you back here again soon. Bye-bye. Let's see. Swipe.